What's going on, apes? It's Jake from the Average Intelligence Podcast. We had to sort of have an emergency rescheduling of tonight's podcast. However, in order to deliver you content on a consistent basis, we are going to basically roll out another past episode of AIP Plus. This one is from April of last year. And I'm kind of surprised we didn't roll this out earlier, to be honest, because it's still being talked about today. So in this episode, this is right on the heels of the, I believe it was the Senate TikTok hearings, where the president of TikTok USA, or the non-Chinese basically version of TikTok, testified before Congress, which I believe it was a Senate hearing. I've slept since then. And also the proposal of the Restrict Act, which as of now has not passed, but we go through it, not the whole thing, because that would be extremely boring. But I went through some of the highlights we discussed, and then we get into our usual shenanigans, especially towards the end. But please enjoy this episode of AIP, formerly Plus, and make sure to tune in next Sunday, where we are going to go through the trials of Donald Trump. Basically, we're going to go through where each of them stands at the time. And also next week, look out for the continuation of Average Intelligence News. It's very much a passion project, and I want to make that more consistent. So that will be the goal, one of the goals of 2024. And while we're here, Valentine's Day is coming up. Be sure to go to steviewicks.com and get your Valentine's Day candles today. I personally recommend the little piece of your heart set. It goes great with a bouquet. It's not overly expensive, especially when you use code AIP at checkout. You get 10% off your entire order. So steviewicks.com, get your Valentine's Day gift taken care of. So one less thing you got to worry about. Anyway, enjoy the episode. And you can like them on TikTok while TikTok is still a thing.
I don't think it's going to be around for much longer, though.
I do, honestly, because
they can ban it off government phones. There's nothing.
They already
there's
have.
Nothing wrong with that. I'm saying if I had a problem with that. But as for banning it for the whole society, no.
It's kind of un-American.
That is very un-American. But the thing is, they're not. So according to them, does this have a familiar? It sends me out. They're under the guise of collection of data. That's the reason being they're trying to say we're unsafe with TikTok.
Oh yeah, that's what they're saying.
Because of the collection of data. But does that not sound like...
The real reason is because Facebook is shoving a whole lot of money.
Well, I was going to say, think about in the past. Mm-hmm. The war on terror.
Well, they've been calling this the Patriot Act for the internet.
The war on drugs.
Yeah, no, they've called this the Patriot Act of the internet, and if you go on our YouTube channel, you can watch me read the entire bill.
Word for word.
And it, honestly, when I read it before I read it out loud.
You're like, what?
I was like, there's a reason the thumbnail is what it is. I was like, you gotta be fucking shitting me. Like, sorry, this has nothing to do with data collection. This has everything to do with market manipulation. No,
that's the thing about these guys. They just want to make sure they make their money.
Well, if you go through and look at a lot of them, especially the ones that are pro this bill, look at their stock portfolios. So
we're definitely talking about Nancy Pelosi.
Well, Dan Crenshaw too.
Oh, I don't trust him anymore. I used to like him, but man, I was like, no. War makes people money, and it makes the wrong people money. You know, so therefore, Dan Crenshaw's on that side.
So I have the bill here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. If you want to watch that, we made a video. But I have some highlighted points that I just want to point out from Senate Bill 686, otherwise known as the Restrict Act, and they made the damn acronym. You're not even hiding it, fuckers. Like, I cannot believe this shit. The bill to authorize the Secretary of Commerce, which, by the way, is an unelected position. That's a cabinet position that is appointed by the president. Fuck right off on that. To authorize the Secretary of Commerce to review and prohibit certain transactions between persons in the United States and foreign adversaries and for other purposes. It's nice and vague. It's a running theme of this bill is it's super vague. And then the list of the people who drafted this bill: Mr. Warner, Mr. Thune, Ms. Baldwin, Mrs. Fisher, Mr. Mencken, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Bennett, Mr. Sullivan, Mrs. Gillibrand, Ms. Collins, Mr. Heinrich. That's appropriate.
Heinrich.
Herr Heinrich, Mr. Romney. I'm disappointed in you.
Son, Svilat, no.
He took an edible, by the way. And Mrs. Capito introduced the following bill, which was read twice and referred to the Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation.
They just wanted to add Capito, so it didn't sound too bad. Capito.
See, this is they wrote it into the law. This act may be cited as the Restricting the Emergence of Security Threats That Risk Information and Communications Technology Act, or the Restrict Act. So they actually came up with their own acronym. That's like giving yourself your own nickname, but it's a bad one. You know who this is, but you remember we were in elementary school, and I don't want to say his name, but it's not that embarrassing, but God, we haven't seen him since then. When he walked up to us on the playground, it's like, I know what my nickname is going to be. Scar. Because he'd fallen off his bike or something. He had a nice gash on his arm.
I don't remember this. Oh, jeez. All right, let's not get lost in that.
It was Dustin.
Massey?
No. Mick. Yeah.
Oh.
I know my name is going to be Score.
Douche. All right.
That's right up there with Teddy Fucker.
Oh.
Well, no, we gave him that nickname.
All right.
That's a hell of a story.
That is a hell of a story. And we actually could say it on here, but we're not going to just yet. Until we feel a little more comfortable with you guys.
You got to pay for
and
that.
your subscriptions.
It's also not us, by the way.
No.
Neither of us. We just witnessed it. Anyway, I wasn't even supposed to be there.
Now you know why.
I
was like, help me.
No, I'd gotten locked out of my house. I was like, can I stay with you guys tonight?
You got locked out?
Yeah, you don't remember
Your
that?
dad's?
Yeah, he locked me out of my fucking house.
How the hell did he not?
Well, we were out late, so
I've
he
been
probably
knocking on the window.
Well, I did, you know. But,
Dad.
Actually, I don't know. I was deathly afraid of my dad. I don't think I did.
I was a ghost. Anyway.
Well, yeah. I think he just assumed I was staying with you.
Jeez, man.
Well, it was pretty late.
That's how kids used to be back in the day.
Yeah, pretty well. If I wasn't home by 9:30, he just assumed I was staying somewhere.
The river shall take them away.
And then the next highlighted section, I promise I'm not going to read it all, but these are just the major red flags I saw. The term foreign adversary means any foreign government or regime determined by the Secretary of Commerce, not Congress, the Secretary of Commerce.
Why would the person in control of commerce?
They're not even in control of commerce. They're Secretary of Commerce. It's supposed to be an advisory position.
That's weird.
Yeah. Pursuant to Sections 3 and 5 of this bill, to have engaged in a long-term pattern or serious instances of conduct significantly adverse to the national security of the United States or the security and safety of the United States persons, and includes, unless removed by the Secretary pursuant to Section 6. So once again, the Secretary can designate or remove. Now, there are provisions in this bill for Congress to fight against it, but I ask you this. I'm not finished with that section yet, but I ask you this. Why is Congress drafting a bill giving power to a cabinet position?
That's picked directly by the president.
That sounds like some dick sucking to me. Includes,
Sucking dick it is.
Includes, unless removed by the Secretary pursuant to Section 6, the People's Republic of China, including the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region and Macau Special Administrative Region, the Republic of Cuba, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, so North Korea, the Russian Federation, or the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela under the regime of Nicolás Maduro Moros. So if Venezuela gets a new leader, they could get taken off the list. Now, isn't it funny? Aren't we buying oil from them? So wouldn't that make the federal government guilty of a crime?
I don't know, Jake.
You stupid fox.
You know,
Rules for thee, not for me.
I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently in the United States, because I can say it on here and not get in trouble. But anyway, so apparently in the United States, mortgage companies cannot switch currency without voiding contracts. I don't know if this is
Why
true
would
or
they
not.
need to switch currency?
Well, because the thing is, there's supposed to be some type of crash coming soon because of Saudi Arabia, China, and Russia. Was it Russia?
Yeah.
Russia backing out of using the U.S. dollar as a standard, and they're now going to use the Chinese currency yuan.
Well, China's trying, but their currency's too weak.
Yeah, and we talked about
They're
this
trying to
podcast.
create their own, but here's did we touch on this? I can't remember if we did.
Bit.
Well, because I remember I made the point that it's like, okay, but we've seen what can happen with this, because we're old enough to remember when the euro was first introduced, and immediately they had problems because they figured out, oh, when you have a bunch of different countries with different economies banding together into one currency, some of them are fucking broke. And you end up having to bail them out, and it took over a decade to regulate that new currency. And we're talking about some of the most robust economies in the world, mind you, Germany being one of them. And the UK at the time was also part of that.
I forgot that the euro is relatively new.
Yeah, relatively new. That was in...
40, 50 years?
No, it was sooner than that.
Our lifetime then?
Yeah, oh
30,
yeah.
35?
Oh, well, I'll put it to you this way. When I was in France in 2004, they had two prices. They had euros and francs, because you could still... They were still accepting francs there because it was that new. I'm going to look up the year, though, because I want to say this was like early 2000s. It might have been late 90s, but this might be, like, I might be totally wrong, by the way.
It's 23 years ago from 2000, man.
That's fucked. No, don't tell me that. Let's see here.
You can count the time, but it's still going to pass.
History, there we go.
It's got a year
Ooh.
coming up.
Okay, it was established in 1992.
Wow. That is 31 years.
But that wasn't wide adoption.
It was started.
Yeah, that's when it was created.
Okay, Dogecoin was created in 2009, dog.
So I believe it was started... the rates were determined by the Council of the European Union based on a recommendation of the European Commission based on the market rates on December 31st, 1998. So this would have been like 98, 99 when it was widely adopted by the European Union. So this is relatively new. And it's worth noting that Europe does have some of the strongest economies in the world, and it's still not a super stable currency. Because, it's not backed by anything at all. Now, neither is the dollar, literally, but you could make the argument, there's a reason they call it the petrodollar, because since it is a global exchange currency for oil, it's essentially tied to oil, not directly, but the value of oil has a direct correlation to the value of the dollar, which we're about to see because Saudi Arabia told Biden to shove his ass up, or to shove it up his ass. Shove your ass up!
It's Habibu!
Shut up your face!
Habibu!
Yeah, so, and Biden said, well, fuck you and your turban fucking towel head. And they said they're cutting the U.S.'s oil production. So, yeah, gas is going to get expensive. Again, yeah. It's funny, if only there was a pipeline from Canada here.
You don't say.
If only. I mean, who'd have seen that coming, right?
I mean, what about all those federal lands?
I know, it's like, if only the United States had, oil that we could get at. But
if only we were smart.
Shucksy doodles. It makes you wonder, what if we'd been the world's largest energy exporter in less than 1 year?
Well,
God, it would have been totally different, right?
You know what?
Who would be stupid enough to have that happen and then cap it off at the knees?
What could they do with all that surplus of money coming in?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, probably pay down the budget.
Oh yeah, they might even do
Get
something.
it into a surplus.
They might even do something crazy, like, I don't know, pay for healthcare.
Or they get it in a surplus, and then they start working on renewable.
Oh, you mean like legitimate R&D, not rushing things out?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? They could have really invested that into the medical field too. Like, I don't know, new vaccine technology. They could have done proper trials and.
They don't need healthcare. We need walk in, walk out things on the side of the street. where you just walk in and just say, I got VD. And you go in, press a button, and it just cures you. That's what we need. No cost.
Needle just shoves in the eye. Here are your antibiotics.
Yes.
Okay, so more. This section is labeled action by the president. So we're giving the president more power. Subject to Section 13 with respect to any covered holding, when covered holding is a company or an entity, referred to the president under subsection A. If the president determines that the covered holding poses an undue or unacceptable risk to the national security of the United States or the security and safety of United States persons, the president may take such action as the president considers appropriate to compel divestment of or otherwise mitigate the risk associated with such covered holding to the full extent the covered holding is subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, let me ask you one thing. If this is an internationally owned company, it is not under the jurisdiction of the United States. Now, it is if they conduct business in this country, but only, yes. So he can, the United States operations, with respect to the United States operations, assets, or property of the entity in which the covered holding is held, or of any products or services owned, controlled, designed, developed, manufactured, or supplied by the entity are used in the United States. Any tangible or intangible assets, whether located or used to support or enable use of the product or software of the entity in the United States, and any data obtained or derived from use of the product or software of the entity in the United States. The authority to compel divestment of a covered holding under paragraph 1 may only be exercised by the president and may not be delegated to any other individual except as described in paragraph 4. If the president determines that action is required pursuant to paragraph 1, the president shall announce the decision not later than 30 days after the date on which the secretary refers the covered holding to the president pursuant to subsection A. The president may direct the attorney general to seek appropriate relief, including divestment relief, in the district courts of the United States in order to implement the enforcement of the subsection. So basically, if the president doesn't like what your company's doing, he can force you to divest it.
That sounds a little
overreaching. Yeah. A smidge. So that also applies for American companies that are doing business with a foreign adversary, by the way.
By the way.
Which Apple would fall under that jurisdiction because their manufacturing takes place in China.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't think about that one, I guarantee you. So
yeah, it's like all the crazy leftists or whatnot. You know.
Oh, there's a lot of people on the right that are supporting this bill, too.
Oh, I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying it's majority left.
So here, if that's not scary enough for you, you ready for more? In carrying out the responsibilities under this act, the Secretary may establish such rules, regulations, and procedures as the Secretary considers appropriate.
That's not overreach.
No, not at all. The Secretary may create lists of foreign persons that may be subject to prohibitions or restrictions and related mechanisms to revise and update such lists periodically. The Secretary may undertake any other actions as necessary to carry out the responsibilities under this act that is not otherwise prohibited by law. So they can make up rules as they go as long as it's not already illegal. The Secretary may appoint technical advisory committees to advise the Secretary in carrying out the responsibilities under this act. Chapter 10, Part 1 of Title 5 United States Code shall not apply to any meeting of such an advisory committee held pursuant to this subsection. So, I'm going to give you a doomsday example here. Oh gosh, I'm the Secretary of Commerce, but I don't really know that much about this internet stuff. I know, I should call Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh man. That's like giving a kid keys to a candy store.
Well, Mr. Zuckerberg, what companies do you think are really, a risk to this national security of the United States?
Twitter for sure.
Well, not Twitter. Well, maybe.
Now Twitter for sure.
Yeah, but obviously you could say
True
TikTok.
Social.
But you have to ask yourself, why would Facebook be anti-TikTok? Now, some of the people in Congress would tell you it's like, well, they're mining our data. So is fucking Facebook. In fact, I was very impressed by the TikTok CEO during his hearing because he straight up called out Facebook. He straight up called them out, and then the scandal that everybody forgot. I can't remember the name of the organization, but I knew what he was talking about when their data got stolen and a bunch of Facebook user data got hacked and stolen. It's worth noting that TikTok has never had a hack, or at least not one that we're aware of.
It's because they're CCP owned.
They're not, though. That's the interesting thing.
Is the company not in China?
No.
Where's that?
Singapore.
Is that?
It's not China. It's another country in Asia.
So it does not fall under China.
Okay, so here's where it gets complicated. So some of the investors of TikTok are Chinese, and its parent company ByteDance is a Chinese company. However, TikTok, and according to the CEO, none of their servers are on Chinese soil. The reason being is because TikTok is not available in China. They have a sister app that is, but it's a different thing. They use different servers, blah, blah, blah. The Chinese did not want TikTok available because of the freedom of information that a medium like that possesses. This is all according to the TikTok CEO.
Well, I was going to say, from what I've heard, now I don't know if this is true or not because it didn't come from the CEO, but how TikTok in China, it's TikTok apparently.
It's not.
So it must be the sister company you're talking about.
Yes.
But it displays useful things.
Yes,
it teaches
yes.
men how to be men and
correct. Yeah.
all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But
you
our
cannot.
algorithms are fucked.
Well, but everybody says that.
I did say that, but I found a lot of useful shit on TikTok.
Me too. Well, here's the thing, and this. So some of these people in Congress really just should not speak because there was one guy, I can't remember where.
Did you see it where he's like, does it connect to my internet?
Oh my god, I watched that part live.
Like, I felt so bad.
I was watching it live. This wasn't a clip I saw this shit live. The look on Show's face, I think his name was Show, Mr. Chow, I think his name was. Anyway, it was the literally most polite way to say, "Are you fucking stupid?" He's like, I don't understand the question. He's like, I think I know what you said, but that you can't be that stupid. The fucking old fuck literally said, does it connect to the Wi-Fi? He's like, only if you tell it to. Like, it would need to communicate.
Anytime you have very old men who don't know anything about technology, I don't understand. Like, we went from no technology. I mean, we had technology, but we went to technology into like crazy digital age. And how does anybody alive not know how to run everything now?
It's willful. Now I get it past a certain age because like I think everybody
it's like programming the VCR.
Well, I think everybody can identify a boomer moment. If you're under 45, I think everybody has had a moment where it's like, are you serious? You don't know how to do it? Like, okay. But I think it was the same guy. No, it wasn't the same guy, but another old guy was like, this algorithm is dangerous. It's like every time I get on TikTok, I see naked men dancing around. And then the memes are great.
It's your TikTok.
The memes are priceless. They're like, oh, tell me you don't know how an algorithm works without telling me you don't know how an algorithm works.
Right.
And then I think it was naked men or something about like underage girls. Somebody said something about that too. And I was like, oh, sir, you should stop talking.
Mom gets on the computer and starts typing in P.
No! Oh my god. But yeah, some of these people were just fucking stupid. And then they're sitting there arguing with the CEO. It's like, we know you have servers in China. He's like, no, we don't. And he's like, and actually TikTok in the USA if you have TikTok in the USA, all of our servers that you would be using are located in the United States. Which actually makes sense if you think about it, because that's the way a lot of companies operate. Google's another one of them, by the way.
After hearing all this bullshit with TikTok, I feel like what that CEO had to deal with, I was like, I'm on his side now.
Oh, dude, I'm not even going to lie. I was totally I think I said it before. I said that I would be okay with banning TikTok, but then I found out a bunch of the shit they were saying about it was just not accurate. It's just not true. TikTok, according to the CEO at least, TikTok does not have servers in China. And here's the thing. He made a lot of good points. I'm so on his. I went and followed him on TikTok, by the way.
The CEO?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually kind of funny.
Oh, he's great. He went from 10,000 followers to like 5 million. It's hilarious. But no, there's a lot of things in this bill that are probably so. That's actually not important. But it's interesting to know because there's later on in this bill it talks about how like you can it's illegal to obstruct the bill in any way. So this bill would actually make using a VPN illegal.
Oh.
Yeah. I've got to highlight. So if the secretary determines in the sole and unreviewable direction of the secretary that the release of such information involved in a case is in the national interest of the United States, he or she may divulge it to the public. So this law, under the enforcement in Section 10, officers and employees of agencies authorized to conduct investigations under subsection A may inspect, search, detain, seize, or impose temporary denial orders with respect to items in any form or conveyances on which it is believed that there are items to have been, are being, or are about to be imported into the United States in violation of this act or any other applicable federal law. They are allowed to require, inspect, and obtain books, records, and any other information from any person subject to the provisions of this act or other applicable federal law, and they are authorized to administer oaths or affirmations and by subpoena require any person to appear and testify or to appear and produce books, records, or any other writings or both. Thoughts?
None.
So here's the really, well, it's all really scary.
The meat and potatoes?
No, it's all pretty fucking scary. See, okay, so here's the funny thing, too. So everybody was talking about the bill's 55 pages. Well, that's true, but only if you use the margins that they were originally drafted on, which they're legal margins. The bill's actually only about 22 pages long if you write it like a normal person.
Right.
Because that was confusing. I was like, wait, did I miss part of this? But then I saw the original. I was like, oh, okay, well.
Well, they probably had to write a lot of jargon in it for explanation.
Well, no, it's the text is all the same, but it's how you write a legal document. Like, there's a lot of indenting. So, under criminal penalties, and there are civil penalties, too. Actually, I'm just going to... It's a longer section, but it's worth... Well, no, they're essentially the same. There are penalties for civil and I'm sorry.
Hold on. If this bill passes, this will because Twitter is not under any.
Twitter is an American company, so it would not be subject to this law.
Well, okay. So what I'm saying is though, Twitter's not under fire, or not Twitter. I'm sorry, I keep saying Twitter. TikTok is not under fire right now, correct? They're just using them to explain this bill. Or is this
all they have to say is that it has. See, that's the problem with this bill because it's purposefully vague. So
TikTok is there as a punching bag right now.
Well, it's not just TikTok. This TikTok is the scapegoat of this act. What this really is a restriction of speech.
Well, what I mean is that the bill has not been passed yet. So therefore, these things that they're trying to hold TikTok to a standard of a bill that hasn't been passed.
Correct.
So therefore, anything new, as long as they don't do any of those things wrong, there's nothing they can do to ban them, is what I mean. Did that make sense?
If this bill passes, they could ban them with very little.
No, I'm saying like as long as before the bill passes, because TikTok's in the room right now and they know what's going to be.
Oh, they can't ban TikTok right now. No.
No, that's what I mean. And as soon as the bill passes, and as long as they fix everything before the bill passes, there's nothing they can do.
Theoretically, yes. Oh yeah, because they're trying to get TikTok to basically divest and become an American company, at least the version that's here. Which I don't know that I would be totally against, but again,
is that where the CEO lives?
Singapore.
You said that already.
Yeah. Now I think he has a residence here as well, but.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So under civil penalties or civil forfeiture, any property, real or personal, tangible or intangible, used or intended to be used in any manner to commit or facilitate a violation or attempted violation described in paragraph 1 shall be subject to forfeiture to the United States. Notice it said intangible. That includes cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency could also be would also be subject to this law. If it's from if you can tie it to what did I say, an adversarial nation, so I think Bitcoin would be there by default because you can't prove it's not in an adversarial nation. I think they're heavy coming after Bitcoin with this too.
If the U.S. dollar actually folds, I think some of our wallets will explode.
Yeah, probably.
Imagine if it's Pitbull.
Oh, God.
I only have 400 billion of them.
Any property, real or personal, tangible or intangible, constituting or traceable to the gross proceeds taken, obtained, or retained in connection with or as a result of a violation or attempted violation described in paragraph 1 shall be subject to forfeiture in the United States. So they take your shit and they'll take your money.
Not fun.
Any person who is convicted under paragraph 1 shall, in addition to any other penalty, forfeit to the United States any property, real or personal, tangible or intangible, used or intended to be used in any manner to commit or facilitate the violation of attempted violation of paragraph 1, and any property, real or personal, tangible or intangible, constituting or traceable to the gross proceeds taken, attained, or retained in connection with or result of the violation.
I think we found our new car dealership spokes guy over here. Read the warranty.
Actually, it's only because they repeat, which this is common. This is common in legal documents. It's because they repeat the same language a lot.
Right.
Let's see. Exclusive jurisdiction. The United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit shall have the exclusive jurisdiction over claims arising under this act against the United States, any executive department or agency, or any component or official of an executive department or agency subject to review by the Supreme Court of the United States under subsection 1254 of Title 28 United States Code. Now, that means that the D.C. Circuit Court has sole jurisdiction on anything pertaining to this law, which should be a massive red flag for everyone because the states can't do fuck all because it's outside of their jurisdiction.
Red flag laws are never a good idea. Just saying. For anything.
Oh, here's another fun one. This is remember the whole rules for thee, not for me thing? The president may not exercise any authority under Section 4 with respect to a covered holding that directly resulted from a transaction so that means the president can't do anything, if the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States reviewed the transaction or a broader transaction that included the transaction as a covered transaction as defined in Section 721A4 of the Defense Production Act of 1950 and its implementing regulations, and if the Committee on the Foreign Investments in the United States cleared the transaction and notified the parties to the transaction or a broader transaction that included the transaction, that the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States completed all action with respect to the transaction or a broader transaction that included a transaction, or the President announced a decision declining to take, or this is important, or the President announced a decision declining to take action with respect to the transaction or a broader transaction that included the transaction. So, as long as the government says it's okay, they can do what they want. So if they want to trade with China,
it's okay.
It's totally okay. But if any business here wants to trade with China, it's illegal. Fuck you.
This is what you call tyrannical.
This is tyranny.
And this is what the Second Amendment's for.
This is literally rules for thee, not for me. So they're going to make it illegal for you to use a VPN, for you to invest in crypto if it comes from a foreign adversary, which keep in mind, all of these countries make sense now, but let's say, I'm just thinking of a good example that's not overly obvious. Let's say that you hold crypto in a server in Dubai, and let's say they make the United Arab Emirates one of those countries. All of your crypto now has to be surrendered to the United States if you get caught. That is a massive fucking problem.
That's a massive problem, but the thing is, if they took that money they got and put it straight towards the deficit.
No, they are taking people's money.
Yeah, and then it just disappears.
And until they decided to designate a country an adversary, these people have done absolutely nothing wrong. Now, you would think that if they were going to name a country as adversarial, they would give people enough notice and time to get their shit out. But nowhere in this bill is there a provision for that. So basically, they're saying, no, you can't invest your money in foreign places or products because you run the risk of losing it all. And then just in case you weren't scared enough,
To expedite the ability of the Secretary to implement this act, the Secretary may appoint, without regard to the provisions of Section 3309 through 3318 of Title V United States Code, candidates directly to positions in the competitive service as defined in Section 212 of that title. So they can appoint people to help them enforce this law.
That they choose.
That they choose. The Secretary. Again, an unelected position picked directly by the president, and don't tell me that won't be a fucking political favor.
This shit's like getting way too OP.
Yeah, this is
overpowered. For anyone who doesn't know.
This is the last section 16 and 17 of this bill. If any provision of this act or the application of such provision to any person or circumstance is held to be invalid, the remainder of this act and the application of the remaining provisions of this act to any person or circumstance shall not be affected. So, even if they're fucking wrong, they can still come after you, is essentially what that's saying. Because the rest of the bill applies. So, basically, the way I take that is, let's say that a tech company gets busted saying that they are doing business with China or North Korea. Let's say that turns out to be false. But they can still go through and look through all their shit.
There's no coming back from that.
No, you can't. It's irrevocable. And keep in mind, this bill has a provision that gives the government the ability to okay their transactions with foreign adversaries. And then finally, there are authorized to be appropriated such sums as may be necessary to carry out this act. So they have a blank check to take away your freedom of speech and information on the internet.
I just want to say, I imagine if you have subscribed here, I'm going to assume you're pretty much like-minded. But for the majorities out there who may never see this video, you voted for this.
Well, technically, everybody voted for this because, I mean, the level of bipartisan support here is truly horrifying.
Well, yeah, because it benefits all those in power.
Yeah, I mean, there's a wide berth of...
It literally is whoever's in power, like, presidential-wise, it benefits them insanely.
Now, there is one piece of... It's not really a silver lining, but it's something I never thought I'd fucking see. Rand Paul and AOC agree with each other. They're both speaking... And they're not the only ones, but they are both speaking out heavily against this bill. I don't think I've ever been more proud of Rand Paul.
AOC?
Well, yeah.
She's speaking out against it?
Oh, big time. But, and see, here's why this honestly gives me a little bit of hope.
I feel like there's going to be a paradigm shift with her in the next 5 years.
I don't think so. I mean, she's pretty loony lefty, but here's the thing. At least I will give credit where credit's due. AOC, well, at least in this instance, actually gives a shit about free speech. Now, what this really is, and this is why I find her a little bit less ingenuous than Rand Paul, because Rand Paul, God, I love Rand Paul, because whenever the government tries to take more power, he's like, no. Actually, I can't think of any time he's not fought against the government taking more power.
He's a good old Kentucky boy.
Well, his daddy taught him good.
Well.
Ron Paul would be having... Yeah, I know, I was going with the Kentucky. Ron Paul would have a fucking conniption. Actually, I bet he is. If he were still in Congress, he'd be having a fucking conniption fit. Which, I don't blame him. Man, Ron Paul, he would have been such a good president. Ron Paul would have been the man.
Ron Paul.
Actually, if Rand Paul ran, I would probably vote for him.
Rand Paul ran.
Rand Paul ran.
Ron Paul run.
Now, what I think AOC is kicking up a storm about this, which, yeah, I'm biased. I don't like AOC, so this might not be fair, but I don't care because this is my fucking show. This is only because AOC has a lot of her fans on TikTok and Instagram. And she doesn't want... And there's a lot of people that are on TikTok who are right, but the only reason they're really kicking up a storm is because if they ban TikTok, they have to rebuild their social media branding. See, for us, TikTok's not really that big of a deal. I like TikTok, and I think TikTok's invaluable, though, because it's one of the better... If you're looking, especially international events, about in places where the mass media is not really talking about. Like, I got more information from TikTok about when they were the rocket attacks in Israel. Mm-hmm. I saw more information and more footage on TikTok than I did the major news. Same for Ukraine, especially in the beginning, because there were people on the ground in Ukraine that were uploading videos to TikTok.
Yeah, that shit was wild.
And Tate blew up because of TikTok.
I made a lot of money on TikTok. Not on the platform, but off of it, with certain ideas and whatnot, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, like, I've always had a technical background when it came to computers and whatnot, but if it wasn't for TikTok, I wouldn't have got into crypto mining and all that fun stuff. You know?
Oh, that was TikTok?
That was TikTok, dude.
Sweet.
Because I was just checking this and out, and then remember we got into the H&T.
Oh, yeah.
It took forever to get my money because I actually made a lot of money off of AMC stock.
Yeah, you did.
So I took the AMC stock money and I invested half of it into those H&T miners, which, we won't talk about that.
Yeah, let's not talk about that because mine have effectively stopped working.
They're not mining anymore?
No. Even though their signal's good and...
Oh, mine only mines like a few cents a day.
That might be where mine, but it looks like it hasn't done when I checked.
Did you download the Helium wallet?
Yep.
Okay.
I got her switched over.
It's like, dude.
Yep.
Fucking bullshit.
So we won't talk about that. But I'm still running the bastards, but...
I still have, a few of my GPU machines.
Oh, that's right, you do.
I still have 9 cards. Not 10, including one on my PC.
See, here's my only concern, though, is I honestly believe that even, whether it's DeSantis or Trump, I don't think they would oppose. Now, I think DeSantis might oppose that bill, but I don't think either one would really oppose the banning of TikTok. And I don't like the word ban. I don't like it. To me, it's very un-American. Like, why are we banning shit? Why do we have to be? And the truly chilling thing is that hearing showed that none of these fucking people understand.
You could always say regulate.
Regulate's better. Like, yeah, do I think that China should be able to collect data on American citizens? No, but there are ways you can. Well, and
people sign up for data collection.
Exactly. Yeah. It's voluntary. Now, totally understand not having but I don't think that devices of military personnel that are work related, especially, I don't even think they should have Facebook on them. I don't think they should have anything on them.
Why would a work phone have socials?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because
other
people
than
are fucking
government socials.
Right, that's what I'm saying, because people are fucking stupid. So that I see, but that's not ban in the sense. It goes back to the whole the ban of books in Florida. No, they're fucking not. That's not a ban.
The book depository.
Well, and see, so like for example, like if you work for SpaceX too, I can understand why it's like, yeah, no, you don't get to have social media on your work phone.
No,
you don't. Anything like that, I can. But to me, that's fine. Like, you can get another bullshit device if you want to have your apps that you play on when you're at home. But
you can play with your apps at home.
Yeah, you can play with your apps at home, fucker. I think that's totally fine. And not only that, I think that's fucking smart. But I can see somebody like I bet you Elon Musk even, I wouldn't be surprised if he told Tesla employees, it's like, yeah, no, if you have a work phone, you don't, because trade secrets and whatnot. Although Elon isn't as big of a stickler for that, I guess. But
he's definitely for socials, and he's definitely for freedom of speech. So
yeah, but not at SpaceX. I could see SpaceX not
being as lenient.
That's not a freedom of speech issue though, because he's not saying that people can't have the apps, just not on their work phones.
Right.
There's a lot of companies that I think would be okay with rules like that.
Yeah, because if you separate all that from personal phones, personal computers.
Yeah.
You don't end up with Hillary Clinton deleting confidential information off of servers that she should have been charged for, and which now with the Trump indictment, they can probably definitely go back because I don't know.
So, and again, just it's not quite tinfoil hat theory,
that was about our,
but the
podcast we just had.
Did you hear about the Federal Reserve rolling out their digital currency program? I think it's not. I say roll out. I think they've rolled out the idea.
That right there. Oh, you said they rolled it out?
I don't know if they rolled out the program. I think they rolled out the
Okay,
idea.
I couldn't tell if you said rolled it out or ruled it out.
Rolled out.
That's actually what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about the mortgage for a different currency, because they were talking about going to the digital currency you're talking about. And if they do that, the contract becomes null and void. And I was like, yeah, but even the person I was listening to the video, I was like, but they still own the deed.
Well, no, and here's the thing. Like, theoretically, you would be correct, but it's the fucking Federal Reserve. They'll
kick you out of your house.
Yeah, that's
like,
it.
You may be a technical. You'll be a squatter.
Well, and like this is half a joke, but I mean this is another example because this is true. Like, oh, I see. When the Federal Reserve prints fucking money, it's quantitative easing. When I do it, it's a fucking felony.
Could you imagine?
Now I totally get now. But I don't think we should be printing money like that anyway. Hey, I figure if I print off a couple 20s, it's nowhere near the damage that the Federal Reserve is doing on a daily basis. By the way, if you're smart, counterfeit 1s and 5s. Just go small operation. Because this is the premium podcast where they can't censor me.
Yes, this is where we give you the ingredients to methamphetamine. Just kidding.
What are the ingredients to methamphetamine?
I think borax.
Borax?
It's cleaning solutions.
Yes. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look it up.
Polyphenol. I'm trying to remember Breaking Bad. That's where I remember it from. What's in methamphetamine? Fast. What do you got there?
I'm reading. What?
Hey Siri, what's in methamphetamine?
Wait. Oh, mine.
Did it really answer to me?
Oh, Siri popped up.
Your bitch ain't loyal.
Is it? Mainly used as a recreational drug and less commonly as a second-line treatment for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and obesity. You know what? There's something to that. I ain't never seen a fat meth head ever.
I have.
Really?
Yes.
Even after they
were losing weight.
I was gonna say it's coming.
They were still fat. Come in.
I don't know. I'm looking stupid now.
It's okay.
It's worth noting that I failed chemistry. Chemical components of
check something.
Amphetamine.
Oh, so how's everyone doing out there tonight? You might be watching this during the day, at night. Who knows?
What's good?
What's good? What's happening? I don't foresee this one being an hour and a half. Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
I think we're close to an hour, so.
I don't know.
Methamphetamine's bad. Don't do it. I don't care if you fucking have ADHD. If you have ADHD, just think better.
Listen, meth is bad, okay?
I have insanely hyperactive disorder, and yet I can control it very well for the most part. That's why I Twitch.
Oh, I thought you meant stream. I was like, are you on Twitch?
Oh, no. I tried to do that for a while, and I got, like, nowhere, and it felt weird talking to myself.
It's so...
Yeah. That's when you're doing that kind of stuff, it's better if people bounce off you.
Well, yeah, we know that.
Yeah, it works out so well because, like, to just come up with your own content that everybody else does.
Well, and actually, you touched on an interesting point, though. And TikTok, believe it or not, it ties into TikTok. I think that we're giving ourselves ADD for the most part. Now, I've met some, and for a long time, I thought...
Swipe.
Yeah, well, I thought ADD and ADHD were for the most part bullshit. And I think I'm still like 80% there now. I've met some people who are like legit, like need medicated because I've seen them without it. And it's like, holy shit. But like I've even seen my attention span go down just slowly but surely over the years. Like I can't even, unless I'm really into a book, I can't read as long as I used to. Like I can't force myself to read as long as I used to.
Video games, dude, I can't. Like,
yeah, I know, me too. It's so bad, and so that's why I try to make a conscious effort, because there was a while there where I was on TikTok a lot. I wouldn't say not even close to the level kids are, but like fuck, I was like,
well, it changes how your brain
100%.
gives attention. To
Well,
certain things.
okay, so actually you just reminded me something. This is another reason why I really like the CEO of TikTok, is because, and I didn't know this at all, so I was happy to see. So everybody's like, frying our kids' brains, and he's like, no, you can, there's a companion, like you can get parental controls on the app, and he walked everybody through how to do it. Like it's super easy.
And TikTok's parental controls are much better
Much.
than like any of them. Like YouTube's
Yeah.
non-existent.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing. On TikTok, apparently now, pardon me, I can't remember if I think it's a companion app you can download, or there's a few ways to do it, and he walks people through. I was very impressed because I saw him doing an interview elsewhere where he walked people through this, and he's like, no, all you have to do, like, you can set the controls. You can set a limit where, like, you can limit it. I think you can even limit it to as little as like 5, 10, 15 minutes, but the parent has all the control. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and he has kids, so he was like, man, I just, I don't understand this shit. He's like, because see people with, and one of my biggest pet peeves too, speaking of ADD, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and it's been a pet peeve since before social media was like really explosive, by the way. About the time YouTube started to become like ubiquitous with American culture, is I'd see people out in public, like at a restaurant, and they'd park an iPad or an iPhone in front of their really young child, like a child that I would think would be too young to be using a device like that, and just plop it in front of them just to distract them the whole time. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, if you're that worried about your kid causing a scene, don't take him out.
We actually don't allow tablets at the table.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the time when you should be teaching it. I would think that, correct me if I'm wrong, because again, I'm not a parent, but I would think that would be the time that you're teaching them how to behave in public.
Yeah,
like,
if we acted like idiots, we're going to the bathroom and getting smacked.
Or we just never win again. Like,
yeah, and we knew when we fucked up.
Oh yeah, we knew.
Because we're never going to Bennigan's again.
Well, and here's the thing. I wouldn't even consider, I never considered my childhood particularly strict. It was just common sense. Like, if you were acting like a little shithead in public, you weren't going to be in public much longer.
You don't go trying to sneak Pepsis out of the fridge at 2 a.m.
Well, that was in the house.
And the damn dog.
And that was the dog's fault.
Shut up!
He still laughs at that to this day.
Your mom was so pissed.
Well, I can see why now, because fuck, if somebody wakes me up at 2 a.m,
But
I'm fucking livid.
At the same time,
It was a
you
weekend.
live alone. But do you sleep with the bedroom door shut?
No.
Okay, if you had kids, would you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have animals. That's
Your
why.
mom never slept with the door shut.
I think it was because we had animals. That's why. Because if I did, they'd just scratch at the fucking door all night.
I'd be shitty. Well, our animals sleep in our bedroom, and then
Mine usually do too, but the cat roams. So.
Wherever I may roam.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So about
To a trans man. I can say jokes like that now.
Oh man, speaking of trans man though, I don't know if you read it yet, but there's a new blog post up on artemedia.org where I noticed something in regards to that Tennessee shooting, and check it out if you want to.
Speaking of the Tennessee shooter, did you hear that their transition's not complete?
Actually, dude, like it was a too soon joke, but fuck, it made me laugh when
Did I send that to you?
the was
Where
were
show the urn?
no.
Oh.
You just said
what is their pronouns now are was and were?
because I think that was like the day after, wasn't it? I was like, oh
Yeah.
fuck, man,
Yeah, you're
too
like,
soon.
oh.
I'm like,
Man,
it's
I felt
funny.
I felt that too, but I had to send it.
I was like, don't get me wrong, like it's funny.
Well, I found another one, and it says
Their transition is
their
complete.
transition is complete. It shows the urn.
Oh.
Ashes.
It's worth noting, and I point this out in the blog post, though. If you look up the Wikipedia page for the Covington shooting, they actually used he, him pronouns for the shooter.
Oh, and by the way, did you hear Colorado Springs today had an active shooter outside of, I believe, another elementary.
Ah, fuck. No,
But
I
they were
didn't hear.
thwarted this time by the police.
Well,
What do you know?
Well, and interestingly enough, did you hear? You may not have heard about this, but there was an axe attack at a preschool in Brazil. It's worth noting that Brazil has fairly strict gun control laws, but has some of the highest amounts of criminal activity that goes largely unreported.
Kind of like the UK has a knife problem.
Yeah, there were
Salt
fatalities.
knives.
There were fatalities,
Oh, cool.
and well, but I actually said a fucking axe attack.
An elementary.
Yeah.
Why? I don't care. Like, if you've got like the biggest, I don't know, beef with somebody, why would you go and take it out on innocent children?
Because these people are so. Jordan Peterson often talks about resentment and how, as a society, we don't talk about it enough. Because we are taught in this country subliminally and directly now that if you're resentful about something, then it's everybody else's fault and that your feelings are valid. Instead of looking at yourself and being like, "What did I do to fuck this up?"
Right.
Which is what it is, almost all the time.
Everything in your life is your decision.
For the most part, I'm not going to be so absolutist about that because there are people who are dealt a bad hand. But ironically, a lot of times people who are dealt a legitimate bad hand end up growing up, especially in places like the United States, they end up growing up to be very productive and successful members of society. And they're some of the nicest fucking people we ever meet. Like, I know a guy who was legit, like, abandoned by his parents. And now I don't, well, he might be a millionaire, actually. Doesn't know who his parents are.
I'll tell
Has
you
no
what,
idea.
I hate to say it like this, but I feel like if you have problems at home, you either figure it out and you become very successful, or they end up like addicts or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
For the most part. It's wild.
Well,
how
but
that
going
works.
back to the resentment thing, and this is why, you know, I even lamented at the time when somebody was telling me about that. I'm like, if only somebody had had a fucking gun in Brazil. And that's, you know, and Toast touched on this. I was surprised he brought it up because I was planning on bringing it up, but he brought it up on his own, which, by the way, I put a short on. You wouldn't know this today because you're seeing this a little bit later. There's a short up on my channel, Arte Media on YouTube, where our buddy Toast from the Great White North talks about how there are shootings in Canada. You just don't hear about them.
Because it's not popular.
Yeah. Whereas here, anytime anybody even sees a gun, it makes national headline news. Which also contributes to the, quote, epidemic of mass shootings because I think it was Peterson who pointed this out too. It was either Peterson or maybe it was Shapiro. I can't remember who. But he points out, you know, like in the 1980s, there was a school shooting in Colorado. It was reported in Colorado. Very rarely would something like that make national news. But now that there's this obsession with gun control, because if you actually look at crime statistics, now I don't know if this is the case for mass shootings.
They haven't gotten any worse, but they haven't gotten better.
Well, but in a lot of ways, crime has actually gone down over the years. But again, actually, I'm sorry, I misspoke. He wasn't talking about police shootings. He was talking about, Jesus, sorry. He wasn't talking about school shootings. He was talking about police shootings of black people. That's what he was talking about.
You know, what about like gangsters between like 90s to like 2000, let's just say 2004, 2005, our era. Like, what are they doing now? Like, do you think they're actually out there still doing their thing?
You mean gangsters?
Yeah, like I'm talking like legit street gangsters. You know, like
It's different now, but I'm glad you brought that up because I'm sorry, I can't remember his name.
Imagine it's so
awkward. But he talked about this. He said you actually, if you look at it, there were some.
Because they're masculine.
No, there was some disillusion of certain large Mexican drug cartels who, up until a certain point, kind of had a live and let live policy, where like as long as you're not in our turf, we're not going out and hunting our competitors necessarily. That changed though because some splinter groups broke away from main cartels and there was a lot of infighting. But if you notice, he said this, not me, so I'm indirectly quoting him. He said, if you notice, there aren't too many African American gangs out there right now. They are, but they're nowhere near.
And that's what I mean.
Well, you know why? It's because the fucking Mexican gangs came in and just wiped them all out. because they started directly competing with them. See, before these cartels broke up, he was talking about this. Before the cartels broke up, certain cartels broke up. They were supplying the African American street gangs with the drugs to sell. Well, then they just came in and took over their turf and either killed them or forced them to disband.
Listen, it was set up, and everybody's gonna be like, "What? What do you mean?" It was set up, and the reason being is because they took away the gangsters in this country, and therefore demasculated them.
I think they just killed them.
Because the thing is, gangster rap, when it was at its highest, everyone wanted to be like them. They wanted to live like them. They wanted big cars, nice cars, big houses, fast women, and all this fun stuff. And that's kind of masculine in its sense. I mean, is it not?
They wanted big houses, fast women, and slutty cars.
Yeah, right. But no, so it's like, they wanted that, so that's masculine. But nowadays, they don't want men to be masculine because they're easier to control when they're feminine. So therefore, you don't see strong black men. You don't see strong white men. If you do,
you do. They just, I was gonna say, there's plenty out there. They're just painted in a very negative light. Like even so much. Like again, I swear I'm not trying to plug my own shit, but the first Arte podcast I did was with and she's not even that bad, but she is definitely a feminist. And there's a short that's coming out. I edited it today. It's not been posted yet, but it's coming. Where I asked her directly, like, what does your ideal man look like? And she says with a straight face, but it's and I'm reading into this way too far, by the way, but you can see it on her face. Even she doesn't fucking believe it because she's saying, it's like, I'd want him to be, like, secure with his feminine side. I'm like, bitch, even you don't believe this. You're saying it because you've been taught to say it. You don't buy this bullshit. Because I'm telling you, and, like, I'm going through, because I didn't go through it before, I'm going through what you would call my hoe phase. And I'm telling you that in all seriousness, I've been openly in the dating market for a couple years. I cannot tell you how many times I've had conversations with women, and if you're like even like remotely masculine, I mean, it's like even asking them out on a date, it throws them for a loop a lot of the times. And I've been told this by multiple women of multiple ethnicities, multiple age groups. Women are frustrated as fuck. But the problem they don't understand is they brought it on themselves for the most part because they demand the feminization of men and then get mad when they stop asking masculine. Like, I had one girl tell me that not only did she have to ask a guy out, she ended up paying for the date. And get this. This is how desperate women are to have a masculine man in their lives. She still fucked him. I was like, why? She was like, I was lonely.
It's because men found the cheat code. They don't have to do any of the work, and they still get the reward.
But what I'm saying is that if
women went right along with it.
Yeah, but here's what I'm saying, though, is if you do even just a little bit. Now, I'm probably hurting myself here because I have fucking pride. And I hear all these guys in the manosphere, and even some people probably on this website say this. I'm not going to name names, but
you gotta stop dating in 2014.
Yeah, dude. It's in some ways it just depends. So like,
I wouldn't date. I'd be on a rotation.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. Not going to lie, but it's funny because I was listening to Andrew Tate one time say that you get to a point, and I'm nowhere near Andrew Tate's point, but this is kind of true, because like. I'm busy all the fucking time, and I just realized, like, I think my peak, I was talking to 4 girls, and I realized I was like, fuck, I don't want to see any of them. Like, I've got too much shit going on, because it's like, if you want to come over and just, bump uglies for a bit, that's fine, but, like, I don't want to be, I don't have time to take them all out on dates, like, I had to pick one.
I can't listen to your problems. I need you to listen to mine.
I'll listen to your problem. So, but here's the thing, though, dude. Like, honestly, there's a give and take there, for sure.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember where I was going with this. Oh yes, so like if you're out there, fellas, and you even act even just a little bit masculine, like, don't ask her where she wants to go on the date. You just fucking say, I got it. And like if she asks where you're going, you can tell her if you want. Or I've actually found that if you just tell them, like, yeah, don't worry about it, they fucking love it. Because not all women, most women don't want to fucking think or make decisions about things like dates and whatnot.
Listen, sushi
Fuck sushi.
or
Actually, but it's a good bet with women.
Chinese in general. Not Chinese buffet.
Asian food, higher end Asian food especially, you're probably okay.
But if you're going to the buffet, whatever that place is where up near you.
The buffet.
That
The Journey?
That shit is fire.
It's gone to shit.
It was kind of shit the day we were there.
Yeah, but that waitress wanted your dick so bad.
That
That was
was funny.
funny.
That was very awkward.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious.
I was like,
She was like undressing him with her eyes. It was funny.
bad. I was like,
And he even said, he was like, am I reading this wrong? I'm like, nope, I see it 100%.
I was just like, all right. And I was like, I've been pursued before, but I was like, that was next level. That
Yeah.
was way next level.
Pretty sure my neighbor wants to jump my bones, but anyway.
Ew.
No, she's not that neighbor.
Oh,
Different neighbor.
The other one?
No, you haven't met this
Not
neighbor.
the old one?
No. I just realized you don't know this neighbor exists. Stay masculine, fellas.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what else I've noticed? This is interesting. This is going back a couple of years. This was when Trump was running, before Trump even won the election. I started talking to this girl, and in her bio it even said, I didn't see this till after I started talking to her, but it said Trump supporters need not apply. And I was like, well, I didn't vote for Trump, so. But at this point, I'm curious. No, I want to see. I want to see how far this will go, dude. This was hilarious. I'm not even shitting. This is how the conversation went. She straight up asked me who I voted for. And I said, I was being a smartass. I said, I made the right choice. And she said, so Trump? And I was like, what if I did? And then she's like starts telling me how stupid I am. And I'm like, okay, first of all, didn't vote for Trump. Second of all, what does that say? Free up storage space. Oh, no.
Where?
Bottom right.
Oh, it's because this video.
Yeah, okay.
We got time.
Oh, okay. So, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. So then I ended up telling her, I'm like, first of all, it's none of your fucking business who I voted for. And second of all, I didn't vote for Trump. And third of all, that's really fucking ignorant of you to completely eliminate people based upon who they voted for in a presidential election. And then she goes, I'm sorry. And I was like, well, I hope you learned something today. And then she proceeded
Did you genderize me?
No, and that now to be fair, we never actually went on a date, but every once, like, she hit me up not that long ago, and I was like, really? We haven't spoken for like over a year and a half. What do you? I don't know, man. It was weird. I was like, what? She was hot, but I mean, gentlemen, I don't care how hot she is. She's not worth the headache if she's causing you a headache. Found that one out the hard way. I married one. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
She's not worth it, Holmes.
Well, the thing of it is, there are plenty of beautiful women. To make sure.
I'll
Okay,
just
it's
slice
good.
it together.
So what was I saying? So this is where we're gonna clip it back together. I'll just repeat myself, and then we'll lead us out.
Okay.
So if a woman, again, not universal, but I've found this to be the case for the most part, if a woman really digs you and digs your vibe and likes what you're doing and you make her feel good and you make her happy, blah, 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 she will adopt some of, if not all of your political positions, beliefs, all that, or she will at the very least respect them.
For the most part.
But if you're a little bitch, she's going to walk all over you. And my prevailing theory, honestly, is just that, like, in the beginning, they'll test you, and if you fail that test and you let her walk all over you, well, then she's just going to do it largely out of frustration. Or it's like, why? Because I know this because that's what my ex-wife did to me because I failed the test. I should have told her to shut the fuck up, but I didn't have the balls to at the time. I'll admit that. If she came around now, I'd be like, bitch, shut up. But yes, that is TikTok in China. We didn't really talk about China all that much, but I feel like if you're on this site, you probably... Yeah, well, and I feel like if you're on this site, you probably already know quite a bit about China because you are obviously informed and have good taste because you're watching this.
That is... that's correct. I don't know what I was trying to say.
That is correct.
I was going to say, that's correct, Cotton. You know, I didn't know that was Jason Bateman for the longest time.
I know, and then you realize it, and you're just like, oh, that man is a fucking genius.
It's Jason Bateman. Let's go.
I love Jason Bateman.
He's funny.
He's a national treasure. Definitely not from
And
China.
I've never really seen him like get too stupid with his talks.
No, I bet you Jason Bateman's a closet conservative. Or at
I'll
the
tell
very
you
least,
what,
a classic liberal at the very least.
people who are in Hollywood, it's not a good idea to put your ideologies and everything out there. It's just it doesn't work out for you.
Well,
The best thing to do is just like, I just have no opinion on it.
it goes for both sides too, because honestly, Kevin Sorbo, and don't get me wrong, I love Kevin Sorbo, but he can come off as a little bit preachy sometimes.
Yeah.
He's not as bad as a lefty nowadays, but still, it can be kind of painful to watch. But anyway, with that, I think we're finished up, because I read everything I wanted to read. I believe I said everything I wanted to said, and
Now it's time for ready to bed.
yeah, fuck yeah. Actually, we're not doing terrible. This is about when we wrap up normally anyway. So
Yeah. So
thank you for enjoying this episode of AIP Plus, and thank you for subscribing too. You awesome person, you.
don't forget we think of you. That sounds weird. Okay.
Ha! Gay!
Pretty much. All right, guys. Well, that's the end of it.
Be sure to check us out on the regular episodes too. You can see it all here on theacropolisnews.com. Thank you. Good night, good day. Enjoy your lunch break. Have sex with your wife.